For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Odd. It's Thanksgiving, a holiday, also known as a National Day of Mourning for Indigenous communities and their supporters who are commemorating some of the first white settler massacres against their descendants today, from the East Coast at Plymouth Rock to Alcatraz Island on the West Coast in the San Francisco Bay Area, where communities gathered for a sunrise ceremony this morning.
Thanksgiving was declared in 1637 by the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony to give thanks for the massacre of the Pequot Indians, 700 men, women, and children attending their green corn sacred harvest ceremonies. And he declared that this would be a day of thanksgiving. And that's the first Thanksgiving. Let's proclaim truth in history. Starting today, we're going to tell the truth about what happened. And the heartbreaking thing is we're still seeing the massacres of indigenous peoples. Right now, it's in Gaza, and we express our solidarity with the Palestinian peoples. It's an international war crime to target children.
On the East Coast, communities will gather and march to Plymouth Rock. According to the Food Empowerment Project, around 46 million turkeys are slaughtered each year for the holiday. Israel continues bombarding Gaza and has delayed an agreement for a 4-day ceasefire and the release of some 50 hostages held by militants in exchange for some 150 Palestinians detained by Israel. A senior Israeli official said it would not take effect until Friday. It was to go down today. Israel's national security advisor announced the delay late Wednesday. A spokesperson for Qatar's foreign ministry said negotiators are still working to create the right conditions for the deal. In Gaza, the health ministry says Al-Shifa's hospital director was detained with a convoy of patients and medical personnel by the Israeli military earlier today. Speaking at a news conference, spokesperson Dr. Ashraf Al-Qudra says Israeli troops treated medical personnel and patients at the Gaza City Hospital with violence. He said the evacuation carried out under the United Nations flags, quote, deceived our medical crews and made them trust in its coordination, unquote. The ministry said it does not know the exact number of people detained and has not received a report from the UN or its agencies, Al-Qudra said.
We were surprised that this convoy of medical personnel and patients from Shifa Hospital was stopped last night for around 7 hours at the occupation's barrier that separates the north and south of Gaza. During this period, they were treated with extreme violence by the Israeli occupation directed at the medical crews, injured people, patients, and those accompanying them. This ended with the detention of some of the members of the medical crew headed by Shifa's hospital director, Dr. Mohammed Abu Samia.
He also voiced concern for the safety of those detained by Israeli troops. Israel has repeatedly accused Hamas of using Gaza's hospitals as cover for military use. It's attacked Al-Shifa hospital, saying Hamas has hidden command centers and bunkers underneath. Israel has not yet unveiled this purported center. The International Federation of Journalists filed a complaint with the International Criminal Court against the State of Israel for the deaths of some 50 journalists during its war on Palestine. During its war, Anthony Belanger is with the Journalists Advocacy Group.
We urge Israel government to respect UN Convention 2222 that recalls the protection of civilians in armed conflict, including journalists. Our Vice President will propose to file another complaint with the ICC against the perpetrators of crimes against journalists. As many people have died in 6 weeks as in 20 years here, this massacre must stop.
Al Jazeera is reporting upwards of 60 journalists have been killed by Israeli forces. The Colorado Supreme Court has agreed to hear appeals from both a liberal group that sought to disqualify Donald Trump from the presidential ballot next year and the former president. The group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington appealed the judge's ruling that Trump could remain on the ballot late Monday. Trump appealed several issues, including the judge's ruling that Trump did incite the deadly January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Catherine Carley has more.
A lower court last week found Trump did engage in insurrection on January 6th, but said the 14th Amendment bar on insurrectionists in office doesn't apply to the presidency. Trump accused the judge of being a Democrat, but said eventually he came to the right decision.
The judge in the end said they can't do that. If they did that, I think it would have been very difficult for our country.
Backers of a similar suit in Michigan are appealing one court loss, while in Minnesota, the Supreme Court has confirmed another. I'm Catherine Carley for Pacifica Network and Public News Service.
I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.